Okay, so today I'm going to be making some fish cakes. So for that you will need some fish. So I've got a variety. I've got some salmon here and pollock, but any kind of fish will do. I've got here one onion that I have peeled and diced, and I've got one large clove of garlic here. You need some mashed potatoes, so you can either use boiled potatoes, fresh potatoes, or you can buy the ready-made mash. You also need some vegetables, so I've got some frozen vegetables here. To defrost this, all I did was I just boiled the kettle, got hot water, got the vegetables, put it in, and put all hot water over it, and just covered it, and just left it like that. You need some seasoning for the fish, so I've got some chili pepper here, chili flakes, got some black pepper, got some fish stock, fish seasoning. If you don't have any fish seasoning, just use salt and pepper. And I've got some curry powder because I like the taste of curry powder. You also need some breadcrumbs. You can either make your own breadcrumbs or you can buy the ready-made breadcrumbs. I will show you how to make breadcrumbs anyway. So the amount of fish you use just depends on yourself. I would just say you can use roughly the same quantity of fish and mashed potatoes in weight. And the vegetables is up to you. I like mine to have quite a few vegetables inside. So an idea is you can have roughly 300 grams of fish and 300 grams or 250 grams of mashed potatoes. If you wanted to have more fish inside, just add more fish to it. Okay, so in this pan I've got olive oil, which I've put in the pan, and I'm now going to add the onions and garlic to it. I haven't used all the onions and garlic. This is less than a sixth of the onion. I just left some onion and a bit of garlic, so I'm going to add that to my breadcrumbs so that I can have a little bit of taste, different taste. But in this pan I've got the onions and garlic. I'm going to add the fish now as well. Okay, so I've added the fish, and all I'm going to do with seasoning the fish is just to sprinkle over some of the chili flakes, the pepper, and fish stock. Like, say if you haven't got any fish stock, just use salt. That should be fine as well. I'm only seasoning one side of the fish because what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over, and when I flip it over, the seasoning will, and I'm going to add some water to the pan, and seasoning will actually get to all the fish. So cook it on one side for maybe a minute or so before you flip it over. Okay, so I flipped the fish over. If you do find that the pan it begins to burn a little bit, just add some water to it, just a little bit of water, so that the fish continues to cook properly. You can also cover the pan as well. Okay, my pan was sticking slightly, so I've added some water to this. And as you can see, the water is bubbling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a lid on this pan and continue to cook the fish. This way the fish actually starts to steam and it cooks itself. Okay, so whilst the fish is continuing to steam, I'm going to make my own breadcrumbs. Making your own breadcrumbs is very simple. What I've done here is I've got the bread, sliced bread, and I've taken off the crust of the bread and I've divided it into quarters. The amount of bread I have here is I have 4 slices of bread, and the amount of bread that you use just depends on the amount of fish that you're making. But I mean, this 4 slices of bread that I have, if I have any breadcrumbs left over, I can just put them in the freezer and use them for another time. I've also got the onions and garlic that I had cut before and left aside. I've got a sprig of basil here, but that's optional, and I've got some mixed herbs I'm going to add to it as well. So just add all these ingredients to your food processor. Okay, so I've added 1 teaspoon of mixed herbs to it as well. So I'm going to cover my food processor and I'm going to blitz it. If you haven't got a food processor, just use a blender attachment. Okay, so that's the breadcrumbs made. It only takes around 1 to 2 minutes to actually blitz it properly into breadcrumbs. As you can see, the breadcrumbs have got some nice grain. These are the mixed herbs that I added to it, and once you eat it, you'll notice that it does have a slight taste of onion and garlic, but it's not too strong. So let's just leave this to one side. Okay, so the fish is now cooked as well. The way that you tell is only by basically eating it, but make sure that if you're using things like salmon, that it turns from a deeper pink to a lighter pink. Any other fish, I mean, for me, I like my fish well done, so I would say give it at least 8 to 10 minutes for it to be cooked properly. As you can see, even though I added some liquid to it, all the liquid has disappeared. And so the next thing to do is let the fish cool slightly so that you can handle it and remove the bones from it, the bones and the skin. If you use the filleted fish, then you don't need to worry about removing the bones and the skin because they would have done that for you already. Okay, so once you've taken the skin off the fish and deboned it, then it's using the spatula, just break the fish into smaller pieces. Okay, so that's the fish broken into smaller pieces. So that's the fish done. So the only thing left to do now is to make the mashed potatoes. Or like I said, either use the ready-made packs or just mash them yourself. Okay, so next I'm going to make now is the mashed potatoes. So what I did was, like I said, you can use the ready-made mix or you can do your own. So to make your own, I peeled and cooked the potatoes. When you put a fork or a spoon through it, it goes in easily. So that's how you know it's done. So with these potatoes, I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter or margarine to it and a splash of milk and then mash it. Okay, so I have 1.5 tablespoons of margarine here, and I've added around 3 to 4 tablespoons of fresh milk, and I'm now going to mash it. I'm going to add a little bit more milk to this because it's not as smooth as I would like it to be. Okay, so this is a better consistency of the mash. It's quite fluffy now, smooth and fluffy. So basically the amount of milk you add just depends on how fluffy you want the mashed potatoes to be. So basically that's the potatoes done. So I'm now going to mix the fish and the vegetables into this and mix it round. Okay, so to the mash, I'm going to add the vegetables. Like I said, the amount of vegetables that you add is up to you. This one here is roughly 200 grams of vegetables. So I'm going to mix this and add the fish to it as well. Then add the fish to it and make sure that it's mixed thoroughly so that everything is uniformly mixed. Okay, so now as you can see, it's uniformly mixed. The fish, the mash, the vegetables are all mixed in well together. Like I said, you can add more fish if you want to, or more vegetables. The amount you add is up to you. But I think this consistency is fine. So it's ready to now assemble.